Good as thanks again.
Yeah, that's right. I see the chat. I see y'all rocking. I see y'all coming. Hit that like button as you enter the building. You know what I'm saying? Hit that like button. Show your love. Show your support. You know what I'm saying? This that dope soul. This that new thing. Nobody don't know about it.
Hello, Knicks family. Welcome to Lunchtime Live, Knicks recap and reaction show. The Knicks lost to the Miami Heat 113 to 115 in Miami without Jalen, Brunson, and OG and Anunoby. My name is Stephanie, a.k.a. Queen. I'm your co-host, and I'm joined by Geoff Clafter from the Happily Ever Clafter Daily Sports blog. And as you already know, resident panelist of the Dope Soul Sports Just Weekly show. Geoff, we almost got one. We almost got our first away win. How are you? How's the fam? And just briefly tell me about the game before we get in depth.
Yeah, all is well that ends well, I guess. Everybody's healthy here, getting ready for my youngest son comes home from college on Thursday, so I'm pretty excited about that. The Thanksgiving break, he gets about 10 days off, so that's going to be fun.
Awesome.
As far as the game goes, sure felt like a missed opportunity to me. Really was disappointed in the entire process. In the fourth quarter, especially, seemed like after Deuce slammed that dunk home, which was an incredible play, we just kind of went into a coma for about 4 minutes, and you know, that 18-5 run was just something that we couldn't recover from. The decision making during that time span was atrocious. In terms of taking care of the ball and shot selection and those sorts of things. And so I really didn't appreciate the process, especially in the fourth quarter from the Knicks. I think, you know, both teams are very similar in that we both had two of our stars out. And so, you know, they were missing Adebayo and Harrow, and we were missing OG and Brunson. So I kind of think that it was a level playing field as far as that was concerned. And the game kind of played out like that. I mean, we, you know, a couple, you know, couple things here or there, and we win the game. I mean, 6 missed free throws certainly hurts to have leave that on the cutting room floor. But, you know, lots of turnovers on the day. Josh Hart was very sloppy with the ball, as was Towns, and I'm sure we'll get into all that. But just a missed opportunity at getting what would have been a nice win.
Yeah, for sure. Before we get into what we didn't like, I do want to shout out, you know, McBride. Him and Shamet started the game in place of OG and Brunson. McBride led us in scoring of 25 points. Didn't shoot great from the field. Took the most shots on the team, but shot really well from three-point line. Took 12 shots, hit 5 of them for like 41 plus percent for us. When we were down, I want to say 10, whatever it was in that fourth quarter, he hit 2 back-to-back three-pointers to pull us within 4 with under 2 minutes to go. The dunk that you talked about before, you know, at the beginning of the show was exciting for us. I thought he played well. You know, obviously the last 2 shots weren't great, particularly the floater layup, you know, whatever it was. But, you know, we were able to get the offensive rebound and had, you know, a couple of shots at the basket. Towns with the last one that it hung in the air so long you couldn't tell me it wasn't going to drop through. But talk to me a little bit about McBride's performance.
You know, I think someone in the chat said he played well for 47 minutes and 39 seconds, which is really fun. Yeah, I think I love that he made his perimeter shots. That was great. And they were timely too. As you like to say, he had like 8 or 10 points in the fourth quarter, and we needed all of them. So from that standpoint, I was rather excited, but I think you also see the limitations of who he is as a player in this performance. And it's clear that he is not, nor will he ever be anywhere close to a Jalen Brunson kind of player. He's not a guy who really creates for others. He had it going last night, but I didn't like his process on the last 2 possessions. I don't. He's not good at beating people off the dribble, so I don't know why he was the choice. And it may not even be him, but I'm not sure why he was the choice for the guy that you would want the ball in his hands down the stretch. I thought it was kind of bizarre. I thought Mikal Bridges is much more equipped to handle those situations and just have McBride space the floor as a 3-point shooter, because he was lights out last night. He was really good from the perimeter, but to have the ball in his hands as the point guard in the last minute of the game was a bizarre choice by Mike Brown and the Knicks. I don't think that plays to his strong suit at all. And I actually got to listen to Clyde on the broadcast last night, and he's like, "What are you doing, dude? Shoot your shot. That's not your game. That little mini, 10-foot float or whatever. Shoot your best shot. Do the things that you do well." And I think at the end, he tried to be someone that he's not. And so, I think that hurt him and us. Overall, he had a good game, but Deuce is not a closer. And start to think maybe Cat isn't either.
Yeah, we'll get into Cat. I think we kind of know who Cat is, and it's almost tiring that we kind of go back and forth with Cat based on what his performance is in a particular game. But we'll talk about that. I do want to add to Deuce. Listen, he's not Brunson. I don't think anybody on this team is Brunson. He shot the ball well. His decision making, to your point, in that last minute, wasn't great. But, Mike Brown put him in that, situation. So I think, he's the one to, question. But Mike Brown might say, even though the ball is in his hand, it doesn't mean he has to take the shot, but I don't know if there's anybody on the Knicks more confident than, than Miles McBride. But yeah, I mean, this is where decision making is important, right? This is where, having that floor general is important, right? When you think about point guard, it's not just about being able to bring the ball up the court. It's not even about being able to initiate sets. It's about, what do we need on this possession? Who's the best? What is the defense giving us? What can we get? All of that, and that's not Deuce. I don't know if we have anybody on that on the team who is that in the absence of Brunson. And sometimes we even question Brunson's decision making, not necessarily shot making, because he's missed the clutch. So I mean, it is what it is. He'll grow from the experience. And I think we could say that about a lot of players. Every game, there's always good and bad, and you just hope the good outweighs the bad. And in this case, though, the moment, in terms of shot time, maybe a minute, but in terms of how important it is, it was to the game. Yeah. But let's get into Cat. Last night, 26 points, 16 rebounds, 7 for 20, 1 of 7 from 3. Missed his first 6 3-point shots until he hit that last one with 22. I think it was 22.4 seconds left. A 40% career 3-point shooter. Definitely struggling from the field this season. 34.8%. I'll say this, Geoff, and then I'll turn it over to you. I'm not personally going up and down about who Cat is. One good game, oh my God, I told you he's a super duper star. He's this, that. Then he has a bad game. Oh, he's not like, we know who Cat is. In my opinion, he's the second best player on this team. He's not somebody that is a number one option for a few reasons. And some of it is not just skill set. Sometimes it's just position. Other than Joker, it's really hard when you're a center because you are operating in limited space. Like, you're not somebody that's going to put the ball, start out, deep from, behind the 3-point line, take your man off the dribble, get into the, it's just not, even though he can, hit the three, he can drive, he is a 3-level scorer. You can crowd him. You can frustrate him. You could, there's different things you can throw at Cat to kind of throw him off. So he's not a number one option in my opinion. But I think he's a really good option playing off of a number one option, which we do have, and who was out. Who was out. So listen, this is the same team we played 2 nights ago when he went ham. Now it's 2 nights later and he's a bum. Nobody said he's a bum, but people are down on him. We know who Cat is. He's a number 2 player. He plays better when he has, other players around him. He's going to be fine. He came up big for us in the playoffs. David Smith definitely wants to let us know he was I think the only one with a plus and a plus minus in the Eastern Conference Finals. So I'm not with every time he has a bad game, people are coming out of the woodworks. And then when he has a good game, everybody just shuts up and don't say anything, just laying in wait for the next time he has a bad game. That being said, Geoff, all of that being said, last night was not his best night. And we needed more from him offensively. Kudos to him. He said he trusts his process. So if the 3-point shot presents himself, he's going to continue to take it because it's going to average out over time. He continues to be a monster on the board, 16 rebounds for us last night, but 7 from 20 from the field, and he got 20 shots, which is, which he should get when Brunson is out. But yeah, that's my spiel on Cat overall and last night's game. But what's your thoughts on it?
Yeah, Miami was really physical with him, and that gets him off his game. Like he's not your traditional center, and that he wants to bang and do all that. That's not him. He wants to face up. He's strong, but he's not, and he's a great rebounder, fantastic rebounder. So you could tell just by that he has strength and those sorts of things, but he doesn't want to bang on offense. He wants to, play like a guard, and he has a lot of guard skills, but they did a really good job of getting into him. I guess that they had to look at that goaltending for where, at the end, or would have been tied at 115. Like, I didn't think it was a goaltend myself. So, I mean, I understand probably better to call it that and then review it. And then I think the review was right. We had a couple of great looks. It's really funny because the 2 players who really were responsible for us coming back from down 10 in the last couple of minutes were also the 2 players who frustrated me the most, in Towns and McBride, right? Because they had all those moments. Like, Towns struggled to score for most of the night, but he had the big 3 and the 2 big important free throws, in the last few moments. So it's not like they wouldn't have been within 5 without him, or within a bucket without him. And he got a couple good looks that didn't go down. But even on that, I felt like they were physical with him and they were able to get him off of his spot and push him further out of the paint, especially on that last rebound. He caught the ball and he was like right underneath the goal, and he kind of dribbled out till he could get within get off that whatever 7-8 foot or whatever it was that rimmed out. But it would be more ideal if he could just raise up and slam that thing and hopefully get an and one, or at least draw the foul and go to the charity stripe where he's very good. Long term, I don't think we're not in Cat crisis mode. Like, I think that's the important. I think you stressed that pretty well. I can be happy with Towns as a player and disappointed with how he played last night.
Absolutely. And I think that's well said, actually.
And it was the process of knowing the time and the score. And I know he likes those 3-pointers above the break like that, but he pulled 2 of them, and they both led to fast break opportunities that led to that 18-5 run. So being cognizant of the situation, I get it. He's comfortable in his skin taking those shots, but there's a season for every purpose under heaven, right? And I don't think that was the exact time to be launching them from 30 feet. From I just didn't like those looks at that point in time. I kind of felt like we had momentum. We were kind of stifling them on defense, and I think that we just needed to kind of grind out a few possessions. I also think that with the way that we played the final couple of possessions, I know Deuce was hot, but if you're going to have someone with that ball, I'd have much rather seen Clarkson or Bridges in that situation, because I think they're better from inside the arc if that's what you're planning to do. Clarkson can definitely get to the rim and get fouled. I mean, he's done a good job of that all season long. I mean, he did have that UFO last night. I don't know if that was part of why he got benched in the fourth quarter, but I mean, if what you're planning to do is attack off the dribble and get in the paint, I don't think putting the ball in McBride's hand is the best way to get that done, even with Jalen out of the lineup. And so I was a little bit confused from a strategy standpoint, and Deuce just doing what coach said, I'm sure, you know what I mean? I don't think he's, I don't think he went AWOL and was like, I'm taking this ball and I'm going to, no, you know what I mean? I'm sure I'm sure he was like, yeah, Deuce has it going. Let's see what he can do. But
can I ask you a question, Geoff?
Yeah.
Can I ask you a question on that? Yeah. Do you think Mike Brown made that decision because of how well he was playing up to that point?
Maybe, but I mean, he did have 25 points, but I think he took 23 shots, so he wasn't exact. I mean, and a lot of them were half of them were threes, I think, but half of them were not, right? And he made most of his threes, so that means he wasn't particularly good on his twos, and that's not really the strength of his game. So if you're going to put the ball in Deuce's hands, you want to do it in a way that is going to maximize his strengths, right? Get him a catch and shoot opportunity, using someone else, anyone else really, is how I would have done that. Now, and maybe it's just a matter of experience, getting him that experience, but I would rather him not have that experience and have won the game. And I really felt like his decision-making in the last minute was detrimental. But again, we had 4 quarters. It's not 1 or 2 plays. You have the whole game to make plays. We put ourselves in that situation with missed free throws, with untimely turnovers. I think Josh Hart had 6 or 7 of them last night.
6 turnovers last night.
And all of them were just the typical Josh Hart, like, where's your brain at kind, it was, and Towns had 4 turnovers himself. And so
he had 9 assists though.
Yeah. Hart did, right?
Hart did, yeah.
Yeah. But again, 9 assists and 7 turnovers. That's not a 2-to-1 ratio. Like
he's 6 turnovers.
6. Yeah. Okay, so
don't give him an extra one now. He already struggling.
But so my gauge of how you're doing your playmaking is you got to have that 2-to-1 at a minimum. If you have 9 assists but you have 6 turnovers, you're doing almost as much harm as you are good, as far as creating shots for other people. Now, part of that is we couldn't hit the broadside of a barn from 3-point range last night, but I thought we went away from our process a lot in this game. I know we ended up at the end because we were behind, getting closer to the number we're used to with our 3-point attempts, but I thought for a long time we didn't put up as many as we normally do. So I don't know if that we weren't getting the sprays. I didn't hear him.
We were not
talk about that specifically, but it felt like we were getting dictated to more than we were dictating. And it just, and that's why I said I didn't like the process for most of the second half. And it didn't have as much to do with player personnel or I thought we were right in the game. I thought a lot of guys played well. I thought Mitchell Robinson had a really good game, especially from a rebounding standpoint. And just 18 minutes, he's been, unreal as far as that's concerned. So, and again, Deuce made a lot of big shots. We knew Landry wasn't going to have back-to-back, monster games, but I thought Shamet was actually pretty good in his minutes on the floor. But to me, Deuce and Shamet are a lot alike, and I don't think there's any way that he would have given Shamet the ball in that situation to do that in the final minute, even on a night when he was hot as a firecracker like he was the night before. So if you're not going to do that for one, I don't think you need to do that for the other. And Mikal Bridges was actually having a really good game and was super efficient and didn't really touch the ball.
He was scoreless in the fourth. You said a lot, Geoff. I'm trying to piggyback off of some, and my condition. I can't hold all the piggybacks in my head. But I do want to piggyback off of, you're right. Mike Brown would like us to have 43s a game. We had 36. Norman Powell said, after the game that was their strategy to, run the Knicks, to be aggressive on their closeouts, to win the closeouts is how he phrased it, to either run them off the line or contest, and contest the shot. And, and maybe that's what led to 4 less, threes than he would like, but significantly more than we took in the first game against Miami. I think we took 55 threes or something of that sort. But the other thing is, you got to remember, when you have Brunson in the game and OG, so now Deuce McBride is not on the ball. He's not somebody you're looking at to create sprays. He's the recipient of sprays. So he's not there as a recipient. OG is not there as a recipient, right? So who's generating these threes? Who's getting in the keys? To your point earlier, that's not Deuce McBride game where he's going to take somebody off the dribble, get into the key, hit some. I'm not saying he can't ever do it, but that's not really his game. Hart can do it, but he was turnover heavy last night. Who else Bridges could probably, get in the lane, but once Clarkson definitely can do that. Bridges can too, though. Once he gets in the lane, he usually pulls up for that for that midi. But my point is, with Brunson not in the game and OG and everyone's position being changed and having to play a little differently than they would play with Brunson, I think it does impact your sprays, and it does impact, your catch and shoot game. Bridges, I'm not sure what that is. He didn't take a shot in the fourth quarter. Was that him just feeling like there's no need for me to insert myself? Things are going well. I don't need to take over. Cat is getting it going. McBride has hit some big shots. There's no need to force it. Just keep, passing it and playing within the offense. Was that it? I don't know. I don't know his and he didn't know either.
They asked him touching the ball even, though. And I don't know that they were trying to specifically shut him out or anything. I don't think that's the case.
I don't think so.
But I don't think I remember him really touching the ball much at all. Like, I think part of, I think that we should have at least, given him the ball and let him get in the paint and do something with it, or Clarkson, either one. And point being is, if I would have been much more comfortable with a Bridges midi than a Deuce midi, like, that's Bridges' game, and it's certainly in his career that's not Deuce's game, right? He doesn't even finish at the rim particularly well. So what are, if he's not going to pass the ball, which last night I don't even think he had an assist last night.
That's a good point. Let me check.
If he's not going to pass the ball, then I don't know that we want him to be the one driving in there in the final possessions. If, like I said, have him on the floor. He was hot from three. If you want to kick it out to him and have him take the last shot, I'm okay with that. But to put it in his hands, he's not going to create his own shot the way a Clarkson or a Bridges can, or even the way that Towns can. And that they were being physical with Cat, and Ware can play him out on the perimeter pretty well because he's lengthy and he's allowed to be physical. And so you've got to find some other avenues. And I just thought it would have been a natural spot for Jordan or McCall, but it is what it is.
I mean, I think that's fair. That's fair. I mean, you could say that Deuce started at 1, but still played like a shooting guard from from that position. But that's what I mean. Would you have started Clarkson at the one? He has the ability. He has the ability to make passes, Geoff, and he's gotten better over the past few games in terms of looking for others, but he's another one that can
but he also
be a
has the
shot
ability to
happy
make
too.
difficult shots in the paint with more like in other words, I trust him more with that. He's not as good a 3-point shooter as Deuce, but as far as getting into the key and shooting a little floater or finding a way and getting fouled, those are all skills that he possesses, and he's not. He's not the most efficient player in the world, but when you're talking about dribble drives, neither is Deuce, right? And so I just think that the games are situational, right? And I could see the logic in having Deuce on the floor right there. I just don't see the logic in utilizing him the way that we chose to, because it's not playing to his strengths at all.
Yeah. That's fair. The Knicks defensively, Miami shot 14 of 35 for 3 for 40%. Fontecchio and Smith shot 7 of 11 for them off the bench. 7 Heat players in double figures. Obviously we were outscored 43-28, but we had 2 bench scorers that were in the starting lineup. So I don't know how fair that is to, criticize the bench scoring. Both Hart and Clarkson off the bench had 14, which on a regular night would be fine. We're shorthanded. I mean, that's just it. The defense, though, whether we fully loaded or shorthanded, is just not great. Brown did say that they give up a lot of threes because they prioritize the paint. They prioritize packing the paint. And he pointed out that OKC does that. Miami does that. There's other teams in the NBA that prioritize, packing it in the paint because 2s are easier to get than 3s. And this is another area in which he's similar to Tom Thibodeau, right? In terms of, prioritize the paint. And he acknowledged that when you do that, you are going to give up 3-pointers, and that there's some things they can do to mitigate that. But for the most part, if you prioritize one, you're going to give up more on the other. And the 3-point shot is a longer shot. And so, they prioritize the paint. So I say all of that to say, I'm not quite sure how much better that's going to get in terms of how many 3-pointers they give up. But that's not the only part of defense, right? There are other aspects of the Knicks defense that I think has to get better. It's great that we do see them playing some zone, and hopefully that continues. That's something we've been talking about for years now, and it's good to see them. Do that. My question to you, though, what is this? 12 games in?
13
games in?
8-5.
8-5. 13 games in. How confident are you in the Knicks defense? There was mixed feelings coming in, right? Oh, if the Knicks can just finish in the top half, we would be great. If we can get 12, that would be great. Then we had Delusional, and we had shout out to Delusional Knicks fans. Shout out to Freezy from Blanche Tears, who felt like the Knicks could be top 5, top 3. And this is for the chat as well as the replay game. Can we get better defensively? Is it just a matter of Mitchell Robinson getting more minutes? Is it a matter of OG coming back? Though OG only missed one. OG only missed one, almost 2 games. Just the thoughts on the defense and how much better you think it can get, or do you think the Knicks better get better leaning into the offense?
I think from a defensive standpoint, it would be meets but does not exceed expectations at this point. Like, they're kind of who I thought they would be. I mean, when you have, technically we probably should have been better defensively last night just because, without Brunson. But I guess we were without OG, so it's kind of hard to say. But for most of the night, like the first half, I thought our defense was actually pretty good. The fourth quarter is when things kind of went wonky on us. I mean, we only gave up 25 points in the first half. It was a close game at halftime. So at the end of quarters in the second and third, I thought our defense was particularly porous. I didn't think we closed out either one of those quarters very strong, and that hurt us quite a bit because it felt like every time we would we were behind, we would make a run and we would get the lead, and then we would fall behind again, and it just kind of had that ebb and flow most of the game. But we really, toward the end of quarters, and I'm not sure what lineups there were out on the court during those specific times, but it really felt like we hemorrhaged points at the end of both of those. I felt we should have been winning at halftime, and I felt like we should have been up at the end of the third as well, and we were trailing in both occasions. Credit to the Knicks for coming back, especially to open the second half, but really, really poor defense to close quarters. And I just, there's some encouraging things. As I thought that Yabusele played pretty well defensively last night. I saw him on his rotations. I thought for a good portion of the nights, our rotations were actually pretty good. Fontecchio had a couple of wide open looks that were just, I think they might have been off turnovers though. But for the most part, I thought that they did a pretty decent job limiting, because I'm sure that the game plan was to stop Norman Powell, right? And Powell was a non-entity and a non-factor for most of the night. Well, it's just like anything else. If you're going to focus on Powell, that's going to allow other players, to get better looks, and so those guys were the benefits. You can't stop everything and everyone, right? That's just not feasible. But we, from the standpoint of fouls committed, I thought we did a better job than in the first two games against Miami. We really put them on the line quite a bit. And last night, they hardly shot any free throws. So we moved our feet from that standpoint as well. So I don't think this is going to be a great defensive team. I do think they will get better as the season goes along, because Mike Brown preaches defense, and the longer you play together in the system, typically the better, that's how usually defensive teams work. Even under Thibodeau, Spoelstra's the same way. They, as the season goes along, the defense tends to get a lot better because where you're supposed to be. You've got the concepts down. All those things take time and chemistry. And so from that standpoint, I'm not discouraged by the defense. It's not a strength of ours. I thought the defense played well enough to win last night's game.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, 115 to 113. I mean, absolutely.
And I felt like we left a lot of points on the board. It wasn't just that. I mean, we didn't shoot well from anywhere, really. Our foul shot wasn't awful because at the end it picked up, but we were like 6 of 11 at one point. And Bridges missed a couple. Deuce missed his only free throw. After the and one, he missed he missed the free throw, and those catch up with you, and I know it was just 6, but a 2-point loss, you make half of those, and you come out with a win. So,
they went to the line, to your point, more than Miami. I think Miami was 11 of, I want to say 15, 16, something like that. The Knicks were 18 of 24 for 75%. The Knicks shot better from the field than Miami, 45.7% from the field. However, Miami took 7 more shots than the Knicks. The Knicks took 94 shots, and Miami, I believe, took 101 shots. Yeah, Miami shot just slightly worse than the Knicks, 44.6% from the field, but the 3-point shooting 40% to 20.
Well, the 3-point shooting and the points off turnovers are really the where. Those are the, if you're going to look at the margins of the game, those are the two things that stand out more than anything. But that's how Miami plays on offense. They want to get up threes just like we do, and they've been very good at making them all season long. So it shouldn't be a real surprise. I mean, 40% maybe a little bit higher than what they shoot as a team, but you kind of have to expect that was going to be the case. In fact, if we shot better from 3, then we need to make one more, right? And we didn't have a good night from beyond the arc. So And I think Miami gets credit for that defensively. I thought, we've played them 3 times in 13 games. So they're, you're ready for each other's schemes and everything. And so it was more just about who made more plays down the stretch, and they made one more than we did.
I mean, Miami's actually been struggling from 3 this season. Coming into the last time I checked the stats actually was before the first time we played them, where they were putting up about 40 a game, but was shooting like 33, 34%. But the fact that they was putting up 40 on a team like with Spo as the coach led me to believe that he really believes in this team's 3-point shooting. It just hasn't come along yet, because there's no way he's going to allow them to shoot 40 a game at 33% if that's not a potential strength of theirs, right? So he believed, at least to my calculation, that it would come along, and last night it did. They hit 40, 40%, 40% of them. But points off turnovers, they were +7. The Knicks had 15 turnovers, which led to 24 Miami points, and Miami had 12 turnovers that led to just 17 points for the Knicks. Talking about the the margins, but what are you gonna do? You can't chalk it up to being without OG and Brunson, but they can chalk it up for being without Bam and Hero. At the end of the night, the Knicks had an opportunity to win that game if they hit just one more shot, a few more free throws, get a stop. And we weren't able.
One thing I did find interesting, it's not really on topic, but for those who were thinking that Brown was going to be playing all the young guys, notice the rotation last night. Diawara got a minute, exactly 1 minute, I think. And other than that, we played 8 guys, and that was with injuries. So if you're a fan of Daddy A and Kolek and all those, they're not. I think he injected Kolek into the system early on, and he didn't like what he saw. And so if you're wanting to see a lot of these young guys play, I think you're in for a disappointment. I think he's kind of settled in, and I think those guys are all on the outside looking in.
Yeah, and Robinson, who's part of the rotation, only got 18 minutes. He's up. He could play 20 minutes, by the way. I heard Mike Brown said. So they're upping his minutes slowly. So he's up to 20 minutes. Only got 18 last night. But to your point, he's leaning heavily on, you could say, the guys that he trusts. McBride, Towns, Shamet. Britt Towns only played 32 minutes last night. He was in foul trouble. If it wasn't for that, he would have been up. Yeah, he would have been up there as well. Shamet, 39 minutes. McBride 39 minutes, close to 39 as well. Clarkson 26 minutes. So basically, I don't think Brown, Geoff, is doing anything different than other coaches do. When there's injuries, most coaches just up the minutes of the players that they trust that's already in the rotation, as opposed to bringing in a situational guy. And, we've seen that, obviously in the 4 or 5 years Tibbs was here, and McBride, Brown is doing, is doing the same, and I don't expect any difference. I do like in the little minute Diawara got, he was impactful.
He looked good, no doubt.
He had a rebound, and what was it? And a steal. He had a rebound and a steal, and not just that, he was very confident in his little possession. Like, he brought the ball up the court, was telling somebody to move. I like he's a very confident young man, and
I do think he's a
long way
piece for what it's worth. I like that kid a
Me
lot.
Too. I like him.
He's very heady. He's got a high IQ. He's a good hustle player. You can see why New York fans love him. I mean, he really is that lunch pail 90s Knicks kind of kind of a player, and so I think he'll get his time will come. I think it's interesting that he played before, some of these other, or Huck Bordy.
Huck Bordy.
Yeah. He played over Huck Bordy, so I think that's interesting. So he must really be performing well in practice and impressing the coaching staff. It may not seem like a lot, but for him to get a minute and none of those other guys to see the court, and he's just a rookie second-round pick, I think that speaks volumes about what the coaching staff thinks about his potential. So that'll be an interesting thing to keep an eye on moving forward, in my opinion.
Yeah, and you know what, Geoff? I'm not against, and we talked about this before the season started, like who was going to get that last rotation spot. And I remember saying I was fine with that 10th spot going to a young guy, because you're not really counting on them in that 10th spot, and you're giving them, game experience, and they're playing 8 to 12 minutes, a game or something like that. I mean, I think that's fine. Obviously they're giving Yabusele is in that role, it seems like, and they're giving him every opportunity, to produce. But I don't know. Is Yabusele here past December 15th? Do they keep him? Do they decide that, we can move off of him? And maybe that opens up a little more time for Diawara. I don't think his shot is there yet, but at this point in that spot, you just need somebody that's going to come in, defend, hustle, play with confidence, do all the dirty work. And I think he's up for it. But we broken our rule of talking about players more than the minutes they get on the court. So we
my fault. That's on me.
That's somebody else talked about DOR. But let's just get to the chat a little bit before we get out of here. And I'm not, if you have something constructive to say about Karl-Anthony Towns, I'll definitely read the chat. But I'm not putting up chats where anybody is just really taking big shots, at our players, and Cat or otherwise. All right, JJ rocking with us. Appreciate you, bro. Deuce with a running lefty layup on the biggest play of the game was crazy. Couldn't believe it. I mean, it wasn't a great shot. I know Geoff didn't even want him to take a shot. Would prefer somebody else initiate that play and maybe finish with Deuce off the pass, because he's really good off the catch and shoot. I mean, it wasn't a great shot. Fortunately, we were able to get the offensive rebound and get another play at the basket. Salute Darlene. Salute Latoria B. Appreciate you. She said she was disappointed in the loss, not the effort. Appreciate you.
That's a good comment.
Geoff, your youngest son is in college. I thought you were like 30 years old. You started really young, my brother. Deuce was great for 47 minutes and 39 seconds.
I turned 50 on Monday, Wiz. There's nothing young about
did we miss that? Happy birthday, Geoff.
No, I will turn 50 on
You
Monday.
will? Okay.
This Monday, it's the 24th. I'll be 50.
Well, you know my condition. Happy early birthday, Geoff.
Thank you.
Jess Knicks, Deuce played well. Overall, I thought he did. Real King, the Knicks are playing average teams to a stalemate, championship or bust. Ooh. I don't know about that. I have to think about that. Yeah. Okay. Kev Berg, I don't ever want to hear Cat is the best player on the Knicks. He's not, but he's a lock for the second best. I agree with that. Some disagree. Some would say OG. Okay. Let's see. 0-4 on the road is nasty work. Yeah, I do think, though, this last game without, two of your top 4 players, we did have an opportunity to win, though.
I'm not so worried about that. I mean,
I'm not worried
I think
either.
that'll even itself out as we go. If we're like 0-9, if we like continue, if we have like a really bad road trip here, then maybe I'll start to get a little concerned. But I think it'll right itself and it'll figure itself out. I mean, I don't think any of us thought we would be as good at home as we've been. So we're 0-4 at home. I mean, 0-4 on the road, and what that means, we're 8-1 at home. So you know, it'll work itself out. It'll figure itself out. Not overly worried about the road record after 4 road games.
Yeah, neither am I. Sharon, Cat is not the second best player on the team. That man is OG.
I disagree, but
I disagree.
I don't mean to disrespect OG. I think that Towns' skill on offense, I know he's not a great defensive player, but Towns' skill on offense is not replicable by many players with that throughout the league. Like you're talking about a 50, 40, 80 guy. That's 7 foot tall and can score on all 3 levels. Those don't grow on trees like that. That is a very unique skill set in the NBA. And I don't mean to disrespect OG because he's a great defensive player, but he's, and if you prefer defense to offense, I can see, you coming to that conclusion. But, Cat's been an all NBA player in his career. OG hasn't. So, I mean, even the league recognizes the disparity between the 2 players, at least historically speaking. I mean, we're talking about OG possibly making his first All-Star game if he was healthy. Cat is a staple in the All-Star game. So, I mean, I think that kind of speaks for itself.
And not just that, even Cat allows your team to play a certain way, and he creates certain problems for opposing teams that they have to account for. How are we going to play this guy? If OG was our second best player on this team and we did not have Cat, you can easily scheme OG out of a game. He just doesn't have
that. Happened to him in Toronto. That's what happened to him in Toronto.
He just doesn't have that type of handle where, despite game planning, despite who you put on him, he's still going to get his. He ain't that guy. That handle is coming along. He's getting to his spots against teams that don't really crack down defensively, right? But if you put a perimeter defender on OG who can move his feet and strong enough, I don't think his handle is tight enough. I don't think his offensive game is there yet. When keyed on, and to me, that's the difference. It's a difference when you're playing off of somebody. Just ask Derek White right now on Boston. It's a difference when you're playing off of a guy and now you are the guy.
That's a great.
And you're getting the attention and you're at the top of the scouting reports. You know what I mean? So Cat, as bad as he was last night, offensively, 7 for 20, still had 22 points on 20 shots, so to speak. Somebody else in that position may not even get up a shot. May only give up a few shots. So listen, Cat doesn't always play the way we would like him to play. He doesn't always come through the way we would want him to come through. But to make an all-NBA team multiple times means that, you're on the top of the scouting report. We're trying to stop you. And sometimes we do, sometimes we don't. But we have to account for this guy on offense. And I don't think teams have to account for OG on offense. They know, he's going to hit the corner 3. You got to account for him that way. But his total game, I just don't think he's there yet to be the second best player on this team. But as your third or fourth, you cooking with grease.
Yeah. Bacon grease. Not just grease, bacon grease.
Right. Yeah. All right. Khalil Ware was dominant last night. Cat needs to play him in the paint and create some fouls on a player like Khalil Ware. Where was Khalil Ware, though, in the first game? Like when you say, this guy is so dominant, this is what you got to do against him. How dominant was he in the first game? He had a good game, right? He had a good game. He was good last night.
And role players play better at home, usually.
And role players play better at home. But to act like this guy's a superstar and Cat, like we just played them 2 nights ago, and Khalil Ware was okay, to the point where Haslam had to text him after the game and tell him, yo, you got to get on those boards. I need you to study tape of Mitchell Robinson so you know what he does when he's trying to. You cannot get an offensive rebound. He's pushing you underneath the basket. How are you going to keep him off the boards if you're underneath the basket? Watch tape of him, figure out what he's going to do for the next game. That's how not good he was the first game. All right. He corrected himself and he came back last night and he was good. But let's not act like he's a superstar and Cat just, oh my God, Cat. There are some games where you do get outplayed by in your matchup. It happens. All right. Wiz, appreciate you. I think Mike Brown told Deuce to be aggressive driving to the rim, which he doesn't always do. And Deuce misunderstood aggression with tunnel vision. I don't even know on that play if there were others, open. Like sometimes you'll see shots, particularly last season, where somebody was driving to the lane and somebody will take a picture where I think it was Randall.
Wide open. Nobody was.
Everybody else was like standing around with their hands in like a catch position, waiting for. I think that was back in the Randall years, if I'm not mistaken. But I don't know if that was the case. Last night. Yeah. East Blue Drew. I knew Spo was going to shut down Shamet. You're not going to get. He still took 11 shots and only hit 2. He took 7 3-pointers, and this is my issue with Shamet and McBride. And I knew McBride was going to respond today because he did not shoot well.
Call it. That's great. You have that. We could play back the clip on that one. I know for a fact he's like
he will respond
on Monday.
If he doesn't play well, he will respond the next game. That's Deuce. He's confident. I just want a little more consistency between him and Shamet from game to game. Shamet was 1 of 7 from 3. He did go to the free throw line 6 times to tell you he was aggressive, and he hit 5 of them. But like this all or nothing shooting,
Towns has been kind of that way this season too, though.
Absolutely,
he was 1 for 7. So
yeah,
wasn't he? So between Towns and Shamet, we were 2 for 14. It's nearly half of our attempts. I think we only got like 34 of them up.
Yeah, 3-pointers, 30. I think it was 36, and only hit 9 of them.
What was it? You're looking at the. What was his stat? I felt like he was having a big offense through 3 quarters.
Who is this? I'm sorry. Say that again, Geoff.
Bridges.
Oh, you're talking about Bridges.
I said I thought Bridges was having a big game through 3 quarters. What was his final stats?
He was 9 of 14 from the field,
scoring wise,
right?
and shooting wise.
Yeah, which is so he 23 points, 3 rebounds, 4 assists, 2 steals, and 4 block shots. He went to the line 5 times. I think his free throw attempts are up this season. He was only 3 of 5 from the line, took 4 3-pointers, made 2 of them, and took 14 shots overall and made 9. He shot 64 points. I mean, other than Mitchell Robinson, obviously, who shoots underneath the basket, he was our best shooter last night from the field, 64.3%. Clarkson shot over 50% from the field. Hart shot over 50% from the field last night as well. And Clarkson with just 26 minutes. He was 7 of 13. 3 rebounds, 3 assists, and a steal.
That's a lot of minutes for him, though.
I mean, but Shamet was up to 39.
Yeah.
3 rebounds, 3 assists, and 1 steal, and only 1 turnover. last night. Anthony had 4.
I guess I have to keep saying mean things about Jordan Clarkson to get him to keep playing well. I was so hard on him, but he really is. Lee told me he was going to win me over. He really is playing well. He frustrates me. He's not a fun player for me to watch. It's like sometimes I like.
But I think he's much better. You don't think he's better to watch now? Like, I don't really see anything cringeworthy. I mean, listen, he may have a play here or there, but so does Josh Hart. You know what I mean?
Oh,
so
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, he had that one turnover where he just got his pocket picked and they ran for a layup the other end. I was like, it was almost like he just was taking a nap on that play. Yeah, but no, Clarkson's been really good, especially of late. So keep it up, man. And I, like I said, I think I would have had him if you weren't going to put the ball in Bridges' hands, which I'm so shocked. He was having such a good game that he didn't touch the ball in the fourth quarter. Really a bad process by the Knicks because you know who your hot hand is. Like, know the guy. He was hotter than Deuce. I mean, if you want to look at it, and Deuce shot the ball from the perimeter really well. But, you know, I think we did a bad job of utilizing Mikal last night. And maybe that's on him. Maybe that's on our game plan. I'm not really sure which one it is, but he needs to step up, especially in Brunson's absence, and be more of that guy in the clutch situations. And we need to do a better job of getting him involved in the offense. I mean, for him to not score in the fourth after 23 points on 14 shots is that's kind of insane to me.
But he has to assert himself also. Like, I'm not sure. I would have to go back and look at that, that fourth quarter to see if it just didn't come his way or he just wasn't assertive. Shout out to Jarrell, another resident.
Hey, that's my guy right there.
Our best defense is scoring more points than the other team.
That's always the best defense, by the way.
Yeah. Oh, man.
Even when your defense is excellent, if you don't score more points than the other team, it's a waste.
Yeah. Knicks haven't had perimeter defense in years. Under the basket is a different story. Okay. Why do the Knicks assume young players can't succeed in high-pressure games? No other team does that as often. Not sure about that. You see one or two teams, and we think all teams are doing except for the Knicks. Not sure about that. Okay. All right. I guess there's no way that's happening. Luke Skywalker, I appreciate you. I believe it's been a minute. Welcome back. Our defense will get better when we trade Clarkson and Yabusele. I'm going to use his name, his regular name. I don't think Clarkson is being traded.
Wouldn't get much for him anyway. He's on a veteran minimum contract.
Yeah.
And I don't think Yabu's going anywhere either. I actually thought he didn't put up numbers, but I liked how Yabusele played, especially defensively.
He didn't take any shots to put up any numbers. He didn't take any shots last night.
But he had like 3 or 4 rebounds in 10 minutes, I think. And he looked solid on defense. His rotations were crisp. He was where he was supposed to be. I actually thought that I thought he deserved the minutes that he got. I didn't think he was like a massive negative on the court last night, which is a good sign. You know, I think it just took him a while to he's getting used to the culture and the system and everything. And so I expect him to be better moving forward. Not Ajay in the starting lineup better, but I do expect him to at least be a productive member of the rotation, which I think he was last night. I thought his defense was pretty good.
Yeah. Brown can't afford to let a game or two slip away, no matter how safe you think his job is. I don't think Mike Brown is on the hot seat in any way, shape, or form.
Games slip away from every team like that. Let's be honest, that there's no team that doesn't. I mean, over the course of an 82-game season, you're going to have a couple of fish that get out, jump out of the boat, right? It's just the way that it is. And last night was one of those, but you're not going to win every high pressure game. It's not going to happen. it's especially more difficult when we don't have Brunson because he's our guy down the stretch. But it looked like he was shooting around before the game. I don't know that he's going to be out too much longer.
Exactly.
I wouldn't be surprised if he's not back up Wednesday. I think it'll be the next game after that he's back playing, which is great news for the Knicks because things are just better when Jalen is on the court.
Without a doubt. East Blue Drew, I hope we see the kids next. With the injuries, we got to count on them. No, we don't. We don't have to count on them. This team is a deep team without the young guys.
Yeah, we clearly don't have to. I didn't think the rotation was really bad last night at all. I mean, and he really only played 8 guys. I mean, Diawara got a minute. So, I just think that he did a really, I thought the 8 guys that played were fine. And I think, the only exception to that, I guess, is if Robinson has to sit for his load management, because we know he's not playing back-to-back. So I don't know if he's going to play every game on the road trip or what have you. That's a medical staff question, I guess. So if that happens, then you're going to have to pull in somebody. I don't know if that means more minutes for Diawara or Yabusele or both, but but even then, that's like 18 minutes. You're not talking about a huge, if you divide that between the 2 players, you're talking about 8 to 10 minutes each, right?
Yeah, so for sure. Shout out to East Blue Drew's brother Rocky. Happy birthday, little fella. Yes. He said little brother. I don't know how much little. He could be older than I am. But happy birthday to East Blue Drew's little brother Rocky. All right. We about to get out of here. Latoria B. Cat had a bad game, but even in that, he pulled down 16 rebounds, including the last one for the putback. We still could have won. Exactly. He didn't have a great game, but that tells me that he stays in the game mentally. He just stays in the game. The next one is going to fall. I just got to, I can't drift. I can't allow my, bad shooting to dictate my rebounding. Getting in position for an offensive rebound, like knowing how important it is that, if Deuce misses this shot, there's still an opportunity. So he's battling on the boards to get us, an offensive rebound and to get us another opportunity. So, yeah. Okay, I think OG and Mikal are the most talented, but right now Brunson is the best. Okay. All right. I appreciate everybody rocking with us today. The silent listeners, we appreciate you. And the replay gang, of course. Appreciate you. Geoff, any last words? We play Dallas Wednesday, 9 p.m. in Dallas. The road trip continues. They're not playing well, but it means nothing. We may be down 2. Maybe Brunson is back. Who knows? But I don't think
I live near the Dallas area. This is like a Super Bowl for me. I don't ever want to lose to the Mavs because I have to hear about it from the people in the surrounding area. So I'm a known Knick fan, and they like to give me a hard time. So especially after Luka beat us on the, the thing. I'm not going to rehash it, but thank you, Queen. I love these shows. Thank you to the chat.
Sure.
Always more fun after a win, so let's get one of those and keep our heads up. It's going to be good.
Yeah, definitely. So Thursday we have 2 shows. We'll be back 12:30 Tuesday for the recap and reaction show for the Dallas game, and then that night the weekly show 9 p.m. So two shows on Thursday. We'll have another opportunity. We'll have a few more opportunities to wish Geoff a happy birthday before it actually.
Hey, I'm enjoying every last second of my 40s, guys. I've got until Monday. We're not gonna rush it. I'm 49 for another 6 days. I'm gonna soak it all up and live it to the fullest.
Yeah, because once you cross over 50, it goes fast. I just had my 50th birthday party last year. It seems like, Anyway, until next time, fam. Appreciate you.
Sister, you one of a kind.
Yes.
Sister, it's time you shine.
at? Where you at?
Don't so.
Where you at? Where you at?
Don't so.